This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer, but not only an expert in boxing, he's our historian when it comes to all sports. Good morning, Jack.
Hey, good morning, Mac.
So, Jack, we were talking before the show, and sometimes sports isn't as exciting as some days during the year. This may be one of those times. I mean, we got baseball free agency, we got the standings, college football that we'll get into when Keith comes on. The NBA standings, different stories. But it's not like when everything is happening at once, Jack. College basketball has started up. Football is getting the rankings are out. The teams are playing some meaningful games coming up. And, of course, last night, which I want to touch on first, the surprising Carolina Panthers beat the Atlanta Falcons. Carolina with their big running backs running the ball well. Atlanta trying to stay with them but couldn't. And what do you think about the Carolina Panthers? Can they take first place in their division this year, Jack?
Mac, let me get this straight, okay? You call them the surprising Carolina Panthers. Now, if someone didn't know any better, Mac, they'd think the team was a success, overachieving. Aren't the Panthers 3-6, I believe? 3 wins, 6 losses. I'm surprised they've been so bad this year. I projected them to be about 10-7 on the season. They're surprising me how pathetically bad they've been, but they are in a pathetic division, only in a game and a half out of first place, and they have the tiebreakers within their division. If they can make up the game and a half over the remaining 7 games, they're actually going to win their division and go in the playoffs. The Panthers could conceivably make the playoffs, win the division with a 7-10 record. How do you like that? Yeah. A 7-10 record. So the Panthers, for the rest of the season, could just play 500 ball, really, and win the division conceivably. But with that said, it was a good win by Carolina over an equally disappointing Atlanta Falcon team. But the Falcons weren't expected to me to be that good this year. I mean, when you have Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback there, I mean, you're not expected to make a serious playoff run at all. But with the Panthers, they started P.J. Walker. Yeah. And you wonder with their interim coach, Steve Wilkes, okay, why he's putting his faith in P.J. Walker, who's he really was his practice squad quarterback, Mac. You have Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. They drafted Matt Corral, who's been injured. In fairness to Steve Wilkes, they did give Baker Mayfield an opportunity before. Baker didn't really come through. But I think you're going to see Sam Darnold starting because the Panthers are going to have a big decision next season, whether to re-sign Sam Darnold or not. And they're not sure what he could give them, even though he was with them last year, Mac. And if he's going to sit behind P.J. Walker, you're not going to know what Sam Darnold has. So if you re-sign him, you might then see he's not your guy, and it's a bad signing. And if you let him go, and he latches on with another team and does really well, then the Panthers really would have blown it. But one thing I'll tell you, P.J. Walker's not their quarterback of the future. Not their quarterback of the future at all. Yesterday, he played a very conservative game. The coaches didn't allow him to open it up, so he threw no interceptions. He managed the game, 108 passing yards, lots and lots of short passes. The Panther defense came up big. Their kicking game was good, and they got a much-needed win.
Well, the reason why I say surprising, Jack, is because of the owner, right? The owner the owner is selling. He fired a bunch of coaches. He's selling off players, and that's why I say surprising. I mean that's a mess over there, but yet the head coach is doing a decent job. The Panthers are winning. At least they won last night, so that's kind of a surprise to me. Not to you?
No, they're 3-6, Mac. I don't want to hear they're winning. How much can they be winning? 3-6 means you've lost twice as many games as you've won.
Right.
They won last night. It was a good one. I picked the Falcons last night. You could jot that down for like this season's record. Of course, Jeff Coat, when he comes on Sunday, he's going to say he picked the Panthers, even though he gave you no prediction beforehand. And I'm sure you two, Mac, are going to check it off, telling me after the fact you had the Panthers as well. Okay, fine. But I went on record. I sent you a text message saying I picked the Falcons yesterday. Listen, and I don't think the Panthers have been trading everyone off. Their great pass rusher Burns, they didn't trade him. They were offered 2 number 1s and a number 2 for him. Okay, in the draft, and they wouldn't make the deal to get him. So, and they, as far as firing a bunch of coaches, they fired Matt Rule in his 3rd year of a 7-year contract, but he wasn't successful during the time he was with Carolina. They were disappointing. Okay, so I don't think if you fire a coach in his 3rd year who's underachieved, I don't think that makes you kind of trigger happy as an owner to get rid of a coach. Maybe I shouldn't use those words in this day and age of sensitivity, but he, the owner of the Panthers, he's very involved. He was unhappy last year, which in certain owners are different in the way they respond to teams. Some are very quiet, some are very calm. Some are very hyper in getting on a coach, but they have a certain right after a while to demand certain things from their team. They want to see a certain progress made, and sometimes it's really hard to be patient. I mean, you like to tell the story of Bill Parcells. His first year, what did the Giants go? I mean, they were like what, 3-12-1 or something like that.
Right.
And, Bill Parcells' job could have been in danger, but the GM was George Young, and the ownership, the Maras, allowed George Young to run things, basically. They oversaw it. They would have, if they wanted a coaching change, they would have demanded it of the GM. But they were willing to wait and show some patience. And look at the way it played out. Imagine if Bill Parcells gotten fired, Mac. Is there even a guarantee he would have gotten another head coaching job somewhere else? I mean, I kind of like to think he would have, but there's no absolute guarantee of that happening. He probably would have had to go somewhere else and been an assistant first.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches, the Colts hire Jeff Saturday as their coach. A lot of controversy because there's some coaches there that have experience in coaching. Also, they have that one black coach that they're talking about the Rooney Rule and how it applies and how they're not following over there in Indianapolis, and really league wide they're not.
Well, the African American coach you're probably referring to is Eric Bieniemy, who's certainly been in the news waiting his chance.
No, there's a black guy on the staff. There's a black coach on the staff of the Colts that they didn't even interview for the job, and that's what. Well,
they don't have to right now with the Rooney Rule. Let me just explain something. It doesn't apply to interim coaches. At the end of this season, okay, the Colts are going to have to observe the Rooney Rule.
So, there's a big I should say that the people in the NFL, especially broadcasters, are not happy with this hiring. Jeff Saturday was the center for Peyton Manning. Played with the Colts for 30 years. Seems to be a good guy. Seems to be able to relate to the players. So, what happens with the Colts now, Jack? Does Jeff Saturday maybe turn them around, or do they wait till next year?
Well, let me just say something. Jeff Saturday has been a confidant of the owner, Robert Irsay. He was a longtime Colt player. Okay, so he has a close relationship with the owner. And when you're a confidant of someone, he offered the job to his confidant who's played the game for a lot of years. His coaching experience is obviously limited because he not beyond high school, which actually isn't a good thing, but he's going to rely on his assistant coaches, and he's basically just going to oversee things. I don't think it's that hard in this sense, Mac. Mac, I have no coaching experience in football, but let's make believe they made me the head coach. I'd see my offensive coordinator say, you're completely in charge of running the offense. I'd see the defensive coordinator and say, you're completely in charge of the defense. I'd see the special teams coach. You're completely in charge of the special teams. I'd see the receivers coach, the defensive backs coach, running backs coach, and on and on. You guys in charge. I'll just oversee things, but I'm basically backing off, allowing you to use your job. If there's a dispute going on, I'll maybe step in and help straighten it out. And Jeff Saturday's been in high-profile locker rooms all the time. I mean, he was there with Peyton Manning, on the same team. Yeah. So as far as the hiring goes, I mean, I'm okay with it as an interim coach. The Colts have been very disappointing this year. Let's see how he does the rest of the year. Listen, people laughed at Deion Sanders getting the job at Jackson State. Yeah. Deion Sanders has been outstanding at Jackson State. If I owned an NFL team, I would call Deion Sanders in for a serious interview to hire him as my coach, not because of the Rooney Rule, not at all because of that, because Deion Sanders has done a heck of a job at Jackson State. He relates very well to the players. He obviously knows football from playing it on the highest level. So, let's see with Jeff Saturday. I don't think the Colts have much to lose the rest of the year. And keep in mind, he's the interim coach for this season. They didn't sign him, beyond this season to coach.
One of our friends, Dan Snyder, is in the news again. The government, I think it's the Secretary of State, has filed a civil lawsuit against him, trying to get the information, all the different things that happened over there. We went over it a lot before, as far as the sexual harassment charges and keeping money from the coach, other owners. And, Jack, I mean, are they going to remove him? Are they going to get force him to sell a team?
Well, it depends on how bold the other owners are. If they feel Daniel Snyder has enough on them to bring them down as well, the answer would be no, because they might be taking a chance if it opens them up for things. In a sense, they wish things might just quiet down with Daniel Snyder. And sometimes you have to learn to live with the guy. You don't like it, you don't like him, but you put up with him because it's not worth the repercussions that could come back to you. And the other owners have been very conservative with Daniel Snyder. And another thing, the Washington Commanders' revenues are the lowest in the league, reportedly, of all the teams out there. So that can't make the fellow owners happy when there's shared revenue and he's not pulling his weight. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. Maybe the other owners are waiting to see if Congress steps in. They have so much pressure put on them. They're forced to act, that it's not so much of their own doing. Eventually, something you'd think would happen with Daniel Snyder, because you wonder, can he survive this? But maybe he can. Sometimes other scandals take place, and Daniel Snyder is out of the news. Right. He's out of the news a while, and maybe the Commanders start winning, and he might survive this. It depends on how much he's willing to dig himself in for a battle. Okay. And we don't know with Daniel Snyder, but on a lot of owners, it wears on them after a while, and they figure, who needs this? I have all the money I need. I don't need this aggravation. I don't know, is Daniel Snyder that type?
I mean, there are some real good owners out there. Robert Kraft, Jerry Jones really cares about, the Dallas Cowboys. And it seems that we lump everybody into the owners like Daniel Snyder, who's a multi-millionaire and doesn't care about football.
Backup players are multi-millionaires, Mac.
That's true.
Here's the term multi-millionaire.
Billionaires. I should say billionaires.
Well,
and they're saying that if the Redskins can get a new stadium built, which I don't know if that will happen or not, that the owners would let Snyder stay on. And I mean, if you want to get rid of him, get rid of him. If you don't, just leave it alone. So, if the Redskins do build another stadium, the owners are saying no problem with him staying on. I don't know. So,
man, Mac, you're holding to Redskins when Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali. You continue to call him Cassius Clay for like about 30 years. You still call him Cassius Clay.
I don't know about that, Jeff.
I mean, call the Los Angeles Chargers the San Diego Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders. You call them the Oakland Raiders on all our shows, Mac. Right. I mean, you don't let go, man.
I know. I won't.
No, I don't feel as bad. You have these grudges against me, Mac, because I know you hold on to stuff. I don't take it as personal anymore.
All right, good. So let's touch on the NFL standings, Jack. In the AFC East, of course, Buffalo's in first at 6-2. The Jets at 6-3, tied with Miami. The Patriots 5-4. There's a chance, and I think it's going to happen that that Josh Allen is not playing. They got Casey Keenum,
capable backup.
Yes,
who's he started periodically throughout his career, Mac, and he took the Minnesota Vikings on a nice run in a playoff win. Right. A few seasons ago.
Right. The Jets, again, a big surprise this year. Great aggressive defense, an offense that can score. They're not the best yet, but it's going to take some time for that young quarterback to grab a hold of the system that the Jets have there. Jack, the Jets, are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm surprised, quite honestly. I mean, who isn't? At 6-3, I mean, I thought the Jets would improve this year, be up at about 7-10, and then the following season would have a winning record and be there in playoff position. I thought they were 2 years away. Basically, the Jets moved their timetable up 1 year. Byron, I like that hat you got on. You and Mac together. I maybe should wear something on my head next
You need to put something on your head because you looking like the oddball.
Yeah, right now I'm right between you two guys.
No, but this is Veteran Day. I'm honoring my dad. My dad was an Air Force guy. I will show you a picture. That's my dad and my mom. He always wore these kind of hats. So he loved hats and so I always think about my dad on Veteran Days and stuff like that. He was an awesome guy. He taught me a lot. So
yeah, I mean,
Mac was a veteran too. I wasn't, but we honor all the veterans today. I mean, this is the day named after them, and plus, we're fortunate this country to have the democracy we have. Despite some people feeling, well, we don't have the democracy, but if you go to certain other countries, you'll see how great we have it here compared to certain other places. No and we honor our veterans today for, fighting for our freedom.
Yes.
It's deeply appreciated. The current veterans and veterans of the past.
Yes.
Yes, no doubt. Yes.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. I forgot to mention when we opened the show, but, we don't forget about the commitment and the sacrifices that you made in this country great. So Byron, we're talking. We started off talking about last night's game. I think Jack doesn't think it's surprising. Jack, you know how Jack is, but I think Carolina playing the way they did in that situation with that kind of owner, to me, I mean, I'm surprised. Are you surprised, Byron?
Well, last week, they played Atlanta back-to-back. So last week they could have easily beat them in Atlanta, and they really got a good team. And I just think Carolina is one of those teams that you don't know what you're gonna get. But of course, it was raining the whole game. Sometimes the circumstances of games and just the different plays at different time and different time of the game. Bill Parcells always said that about 5 plays that are going to consider the outcome of the game. And, Carolina, they played good team football last night.
I want to apologize about something. I made a mistake. When Mac talked to me about the surprising Carolina Panthers, I dug into them. I said, how surprising can they be? Come on, give me a break, Mac. They're 3-6. I was flat out wrong, guys. Flat out 100% wrong. I apologize to the viewers. I should know the stats better than I did. They're not 3-6. They're 3-7. That's their record on the season so far. They're 3-7, and they're still in last place.
They told you. They're still in last place.
Rising Panthers. Look, I predicted the Panthers were going to go 10-7 on the year. They've got to win. They've got to go 7-0 the rest of the way to get to 10-7.
And their quarterback situation is still up in the air, so that's the key factor.
It shouldn't be up in the air. Who on their right mind is starting PJ Walker? Then Steve Wilkes is going to claim there's bias against him when he gets fired. He's starting a practice squad quarterback. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
it's obvious Sam Darnold should be put ahead of PJ Walker. His upside is greater. PJ Walker is a smart young man, mobility, limited talent as a quarterback. I mean, you can manage a game around him to a point if you're very conservative. Sam Darnold can at least make plays. Baker Mayfield can at least make plays, but Baker had his chance. In all fairness to Steve Wilkes, so he's trying something new. But they're going to have to address the situation with Sam Darnold because this next season, some teams have to think this next season, who's going to be our quarterback if you're the Panthers? They got to find out about Sam Darnold. So what the heck are they doing with PJ Walker if he's their quarterback next season? Oh, man. You're talking about what, 4-13?
Yeah. I don't see them doing a whole lot more. You got to have a resolution with that quarterback, no doubt. It got to be one of those guys' team, and I don't see PJ Walker he's just a backup player. But you paying all these money and they have these high expectations with 2 first rounders with those guys. The quarterback situation needs to be hashed out. And they need to decide on which way they need to go moving forward.
They got Matt Corral, who's been injured, who was drafted highly at quarterback. So they release Baker Mayfield at the end of the season. Yeah. You have PJ Walker there. You still have Matt Corral. You have, who you don't know how good he's going to be because he was out. Matt calls them the surprising Carolina Panthers. The sick part about it, they might actually win the division at 7-10. 7-10 might win that division.
No, they won't win the division.
No, the Buccaneers in first place, and they're 4-5.
I know. They'll be 5-5 this weekend.
I think so. So we were talking.
They'll be 5-5 this weekend.
Yeah, we were talking about the hiring of Jeff Saturday to the Colts, Byron.
Everybody talking about
that. Uproar in the Colts, especially the coaching staff. I mean, Saturday looks like he's a player's coach. He looks like he really cares about the players. Head coach, I don't know, but he's got it. He'll probably be there next year. At least Irsay says he will be. What are your thoughts about Saturday being head coach?
Well, I just think, Jim Irsay need to consider, the other coaches that's on the staff that been there all year, training camp, off season, some of the things that they have prepared in meeting rooms, and then bring in Jeff Saturday just because he have a great relationship with Irsay, and I understand what Jim Irsay wanted to do, but you got to give respect to some of the coaches that have been there, coaches that have coached in college, coaches that have coached in the NFL and been around for a while. I mean, there's a process, but yet that just goes to show you these owners are going to do what they want to do. And no disrespect to Jeff Saturday and what he know about football and what he meant to the coach and Indianapolis and everybody else. But I just think too that's a process. At least I would have talked to the coaches and some of the staff people to try to say, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to move in this direction. I don't know if he did that or not, but I'm just telling you, it's great. Other coaches on that coaching staff need to be considered as a head coach and just to come in and do what he did. And then Jeff Saturday was 20-16 during his coaching tenure in high school. And, they didn't like he was like 30-1 or something like that. So he's 20-16, almost 500 coaching stats for his win-loss for his time while he was coaching in high school. But I just, and that was 3 years or something like that I heard. But I just think there's a process and there's a way to do things.
Byron, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but this is my school of thought with those assistant coaches on the Colts staff.
Right.
You want a promotion, do your job the right way. They weren't successful. I don't want someone on the staff whose unit didn't play good throughout the year. And obviously there's a lot of disappointment. So Jeff Saturday, in a way, he's an outsider because he hasn't been directly on the Colt coaching staff, yet he's a Colt icon and very close with the owner. And this is just an interim coach. Let's keep that in mind. Just an interim coach. It's basically, let's see what he could do the rest of the year. And then at the end of the season, I'm sure the owner, Jim Irsay, is going to revisit this. If the Colts aren't successful the rest of the way on a Jeff Saturday, if he's not really doing the job, he's not going to be there as the coach next year.
But let me say this. This is something that you see in youth football. You bring in another coach. This is something that's never happened in the NFL before. These guys step up just like Steve Witz over there with Carolina Panthers. He's on the staff. That's what you usually do. I mean, you bring him in when you want to reload, and after the season you do it. You don't do it after 8 games or 9 games in the season. It's unheard of.
Yeah, I agree. We'll talk a little bit about Josh Allen as we go through the standings here because we're going to talk about Buffalo first. It looks like he's not playing. Case Keenum's going to be quarterbacking. As Jack mentioned, he's a good second-string quarterback. He led Minnesota to the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, does it hurt that Josh Allen takes a couple of games off? Really? I mean, they're still going to be in the playoff hunt. I think it's a good idea to rest him, make sure he's strong enough and strong to play for the rest of the year, Byron.
Yeah, I think it's perfect time to give him a rest. But he had practice all week. His elbow is still kind of banged up, and I just think too that you want to set your team up for the long run for the Super Bowl, and they still in a great position. It's hard to beat Buffalo in Buffalo, so I think they're doing the right thing. Sending him out, making sure that he's fully healthy, but also they need to consider somehow getting a good running back in there, or somebody to help with some of the run duty and blocking duties, because as he was throwing the ball, if you're a running back and chip off and make sure the guy's not touching Josh Allen, that's a key factor too. So maybe they need to consider a blocking back or somebody to come in to help a little bit more protection, because you don't want to get him as much as possible. And that's the deal about running quarterbacks and not having a good running back or a good blocking back. Your quarterback can't get hurt.
Singletary's a pretty good back, and they did draft James Cook from
Right.
Georgia. But I think part of it with Josh Allen, isn't so much the blocking or the running game. I think certain quarterbacks, their instinct is to run. That's what they are. John Elway was like that to a large degree.
Yeah.
And I think the rules will protect Josh Allen as long as he knows to go down. As long as they know to hit the deck.
Right.
Guys, quarterbacks aren't going to get hurt like they were in the past. You know, the problem is when they don't go down. I don't know whether you guys remember the play Zach Wilson this past week against Buffalo. He tried to score. He was double hit extra hard, and the crowd actually appreciated it. The Jet fans, wow, this guy's making that extra effort for us.
Yeah.
But the coaches had to wince, you know. But as long as that's Josh Allen's instincts. He's basically a running quarterback, but because he's such a good pocket pass as well, people are saying he shouldn't run. Josh Allen, in a way, is like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Not like Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson isn't quite as good a pocket passer, so he's thought of as being a runner. And Josh Allen's thought of as being a pocket passer, when in reality, they're a lot like one another.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's part of his game too. He's been doing that's his style of play as well.
Yeah. So we move on to the Jets in Miami. The Jets, of course, as Jack said, I'm surprised. He's surprised how well they're playing this year. Aggressive young defense. We mentioned Zach Wilson still has a lot to learn.
Right.
You know, as far as reading defenses and playing the quarterback position. Miami's at 6-3. You know, again, I'm not sure about Tua yet. I know he's playing really good ball right now, and he's got two great receivers. I think I could be quarterbacking with that team.
No, Matt, Tua is going to be 2 years from now when you talk about, I think, even a year from now, top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Tua is there. Even now, he's on the fringes of the top 10.
It just depends if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy,
yeah. Tua's the real thing. He's the real thing.
Like I said, though, Jack, I mean, if I had those two receivers, I mean, I'd look really good too. So, I mean, there's more to it than just him playing well. He's accurate. He can't move like he used to. So, you know, we'll see what happens with Miami this year. I really don't think that they're going to go on a run this year, as a lot of people think. Make the playoffs, but I don't think that's as far as they'll go. The Patriots, of course, you know, everyone knows that my quarterback of the year is Zappy, who, you know, he should be starting. But anyway,
he's a player. He's excited to watch.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Zappy's a good. Zappy's window eventually. I mean, how high his upside is eventually he could be another Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, he's not going to be one of the better. The Patriots are much better off sticking with Mac Jones now. I mean, much better off.
But it's some teams need quarterback. It's some teams need quarterback, and the Saints is one of those teams.
Yeah,
you know, so it's a lot of teams need quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know, Mac Jones, I still think is just a field general. The Patriots got a great defense, a hard runner in Stevenson, great special teams. So as long as he's playing with the Patriots, that's all he's really going to be. But you know, they're 5-4 guys, so they're still in the hunt. And you know, who knows? Maybe they get 3 to 4 teams in the playoffs. It's possible, right?
They might. Yeah, exactly right. It's you know, you don't bet against Belichick, and you know he can put some schemes together. I mean, you know, the coach came up there. A couple of teams been up there this year, and they zeroed them out. You know, so that speaks volume for the defense. In the NFL, if you don't score, you got to look at the game plan, and that's what you know. That's what Bill Belichick does. He put good game plans together.
Yeah. I never saw coaches effective against young, pretty much inexperienced quarterbacks first, second year, or quarterbacks who haven't played a lot as Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
I mean, the schemes he has, I mean, he completely befuddled Zach Wilson. You see it time and time again. That's why I laughed when the Colts played the Patriots. Sam Ellinger, are you kidding me? Putting him against the Belichick defense. Bring back Matt Ryan for that game, but I guess they didn't want to pay Ryan the money under the contract. But at least Matt Ryan's experience, he could deal with that defense, to an extent. But Sam Ellinger, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Well, that just shows you Belichick, man. He's a mastermind on game plan.
He kept you in check during practices when he was the Giant defensive coordinator.
Don't be telling my secrets. I know he did.
Yeah.
He walked around. He walked around in the locker room with that pencil like that. All right, Byron. We gonna shut you down today at practice. So yeah, right.
So the West, the AFC West, you got the Chiefs at 5-2, San Diego at 5-3, Denver 3-5, and the Raiders at 2-6. I still think Kansas City is the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. That quarterback, Mahomes, just does things that no other quarterback can do. Again, a decent defense with Jones, and a running game that needs a lot to be desired. A lot of receivers he's throwing to. Kelsey still being the big play guy there for him. KC Super Bowl, Byron?
Yeah, I think KC, they added some more pieces. Of course, Kadarius Toney, the first play of the game last week, they threw him the ball. They tried to, get him implemented into the offense and let him catch the ball wearing number 19 in the Kansas City football uniform. So they do things, I think, that's amazing. You can see that they're thinking about having Juju there and adding those pieces. Of course, Kelsey is the number one player that you ever want to see for us change the game of football for us tight end. So, they're doing the little thing consistently right. They got 2 or 3 running backs that they utilize. You see things that they do things for down the road preparation in case somebody get hurt. You can just plug in another guy and they keep going like that. So it's an instant heartbeat that they have, and they have a lot of momentum, and they hard to beat. I don't care who they play, they're gonna be ready to go.
I gotta tell you, mention that division, and when you talk about most valuable player, Justin Herbert's name never comes up. The Chargers have had so many injuries; they've been so disorganized. Yet they're 5-3.
Yeah.
Somehow Justin Herbert's kept them afloat, and no one seems to mention his name this year. Everything he's done to keep that team in the playoff position.
And then that was the team that I predicted at the beginning because of who they added, Mac on the defense, and the injuries, like you said. And then Justin Herbert got hurt early in the season with a rib, and he kept playing. And he's the only quarterback to ever come into the league who have thrown over 30 touchdowns in the first 2 seasons. He has done something remarkable already. So you're exactly right, Jack.
All right. So Jack and Byron thinking San Diego, are they going to the playoffs?
I think they're gonna make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, they're gonna have some coaching changes because they've been right there. And I think they if they get some of those players healthy, like you just said, Mac, I think they can make the playoff. They're a great team. They hard to beat.
We don't know how they could peak late in the season. They get in playoff position. They put it all together. There's going to be a couple of teams that are going to be a lot better at the end of the season than they are now. Those are the teams that are scary on the Super Bowl run. You forget a couple of years ago when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, they were 7-5 and they were struggling. 7-5, and then they went on a run. It just came together.
Yeah, exactly right.
So we got Denver sitting behind San Diego at 3-5. It just doesn't look like they're on the same page. I mean, I still think Wilson is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Of course he is. But it just seems like him and the receivers aren't working out. The running game isn't doing well. The defense, even though it's still pretty good, it looks like they're pretty disorganized over there.
But they just traded their number one player. They traded to Miami.
Bradley Chubb. Yeah. They got good value back though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got good value back, but I don't think they preparing themselves for any kind of run. I think they done doing the towel for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it has to be discouraging. Mac mentioned, Denver Stars a good defense. They have an excellent defense, and that had to be discouraging because it seemed that every week that defense played really, really well.
Yes.
And that you want the offense to pick things up after a while, and they're not doing it, and it's not kind of an ugly thing, in Denver. And I know I've said this before, but my best prediction I made all season long in the NFL was before the first game when the Broncos played at Seattle. That was a must win, even though it was only one game, because it would deflate their fan base if you go into Seattle and you lose, because there's so much enthusiasm in Denver with Russell Wilson. And I don't know, have they thrown in the towel making the Bradley Chubb deal? You think they've thrown in the towel, Byron? Basically?
I don't know if they threw in the towel. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but the offense hadn't been productive all year. You got to score over 20-something points a game. And they're used to doing that. I mean, even with Denver has always been a one team that you don't want to go and play. Or they always been a hard team to play, but they hadn't been playing with no kind of team effort. But yeah, I don't know. It just everybody been talking about Russell Wilson. I think maybe they put too much emphasis on Russell Wilson and not coming up with the team concept. But at the end of the day, football is all about team and being able to put all three game type situations together: offense, defense, and special team. That's what you have to do. I think they've been focused on the quarterback, and they thinking that the quarterback and the coach gonna come in and save the team. No, you still got to have some camaraderie. You got to have some players really fighting to win games.
Yeah, I agree. The Oakland Raiders, Jack, they're 2-6 right now.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, the Oakland Raiders are 2-6. I mean, do they have a chance at all? I think they're out of it. Derek Carr to me is still a decent quarterback. He threw for over 4,000 yards last year. They pick up the big receiver from Green Bay.
Adams, yeah.
Right. And they supposedly played together in college, and I mean they're just not clicking. They've spent a boatload of money on them defensive linemen, the pass rushers. They're not really doing too much. So do the Raiders just kind of, I don't want to say maybe they pack it in and wait for next year? I don't know. What do you think?
But they the only team have led by 17 points. I think two or three cases this year, and they still lost the game. I mean, the potential is there. Cosby, they got one of the best rushers and some good players on defense. But they saying that Josh McDaniel and some of the players are not getting along. So there's some of the rumors there. So maybe it's the little things that have hurt them, but their expectation going into this year was a lot higher than what's happening over there.
Well, I hear it's not personal, him not getting along with the players. It's football related. They don't like his schemes. And you kind of wonder if the team's not doing well and the players are unhappy with the schemes, should the coach adjust to the players' needs? Because they're not winning. I kind of feel the coach should say, look, this isn't quite working. Or you could think like Josh McDaniels is, I'm in this for the long haul. They'll adjust to me. I don't care how long it takes. Eventually, it'll come around and we'll be successful. I'm not sure what the answer is, but this is Josh McDaniels' second go-round. He had problems with the Broncos. He said he learned from that. Then he was successful, of course, as a coordinator at New England for a good number of years.
Yeah.
And you kind of wonder, but if I'm the owner, if I'm Mark Davis, I let Josh McDaniel know, which reportedly he did. You're my guy. Don't worry about this year. I care about the long haul. Do what you have to do over the long haul. Your job's not in jeopardy. I don't want you looking over your shoulder. Okay? Because he's a first-year coach. You can't put him in a position where he thinks he's going to get fired.
But the expectation. I'm looking at the expectation of what's happening and the way everybody was predicting them to be a team. They were one game away from making the playoff last year and had a great run. They changed a lot of things there with the personnel, but still though, the Raiders had high expectations. They was one of the teams that everybody was talking about can take a run for the Super Bowl or go to the playoffs, and they have reversed everything. Just look at the whole big picture. I just think all the coaches that have came from New England have been winning. I mean, just look at the coaching staff. Every coach that's been there have went in and got these jobs, and then next thing you know, within 1 or 2 years, they out of there.
Well, Brian Flores did have success at Miami.
But he's out of there.
He was out at Miami because reportedly he didn't get along with people. And, originally I had sympathy for Brian Flores, but then I realized he tended to fire his assistant coaches. If you're going to have a short fuse with your own assistants and you're going to fire them, then why should I have sympathy for you if you're getting fired? I mean, you could look at it that way. And then Brian Flores, who should be a coach in the NFL, he didn't get his dream job with the Giants. So then he, started the lawsuit for that because he didn't get his dream job. But he should have been he should be a head coach somewhere, Brian Flores. He really shouldn't be toiling in Pittsburgh. But who's going to hire him right now at the moment with
Well, I think
we'll see. He's a fine young coach, that I know.
I think when Tomlin decides to leave, I think that might be Flores' job.
It might. But why would Tomlin leave? Tomlin is a great, great coach. This is going to be his first losing record. Losing record. It happens to everyone. I mean, Mike Tomlin has been, you can't sit here and write down the top 5 coaches in the NFL and not put down Tomlin's name in the top 5, at least to me.
Yeah. And then they playing the Saints this week, right? That's the only team that he haven't beat since he's been coaching. Did you know that, Jack?
No, not at all.
I heard it this week, so I wanted to put that in there.
He's been around a lot of years. You know what you look at it.
But he never beat the Saints before. I couldn't believe it.
How many times did they play the Saints? They
don't play the Saints that much, but I'm just saying.
They played the Saints 2-3 times in there, 3 times in this.
But still, though, I never thought that but he couldn't beat the Saints.
So you use that as a reason to fire Mike Tomlin because he never beat the Saints.
No, I ain't saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that statement was crazy to me. I couldn't even imagine. Even though, like you said, they probably played him 4 times, 5 times, but he never have beaten the Saints. That's the only team in the NFL he never beat.
Right.
Okay.
So we move on to the AFC North. Baltimore is at 6-3.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is at 5-4. Cleveland 3-5. Pittsburgh 2-6, as we just talked about. Mike Tomlin. Buffalo. You got Jackson, who is a running quarterback, and we know that. That he can. That running quarterbacks do get hurt. It's got a big contract out there that they're. That they offered him. He hasn't.
Not all guaranteed, Mac. That's why he signed it. If it was all guaranteed, he would have signed it.
Right. He still has problems to me being accurate with the football. He's a leader out there. Decent running game, good defense, and so on. Buffalo, Byron, you think has a shot at making the Super Bowl this year?
Baltimore, Baltimore. Yeah, I think so because they added a good piece of that linebacker. They played well this past week, Monday night game, and I think they are. Yeah, I think they could be considered because of the coach. I mean, I just think too they got good. They just got good. They just need a running back, but the running back that they have been stepping up. But I'm thinking that Baltimore is always hard to beat. They seem like at mid-season, seem like they get a lot of momentum going into the second half of the season. So I'm looking to see that. To me, Baltimore would be the team to beat and be considered as the division winner in the North, in the AFC North.
They got the best running back in the NFL, Lamar Jackson. Let him run the darn ball. He knows when to hit the deck.
But you know when you keep running like that, your injuries pops up. Like last year, he couldn't complete the season.
Yeah, I mean, things come up, hamstrings, so on. But what are you going to do? You're going to be scared of getting injured the whole time? So you're going to be conservative? What are you going to do? Keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket the whole time?
But
do best.
But the second part of that is his contract is up too. So yeah, it's gonna be some good time, and if he can stay healthy, then he's looking at getting that big nice contract that he's been working on.
Lamar Jackson isn't as poor a pocket pass as people think. I think they look at his throwing motion.
Yeah.
It's awkward in
Right.
how he delivers the ball, and they think, oh, he's not a natural passer. But he gets the ball to his receivers when he's in the pocket, so he looks awkward. You know what he reminds me of? A pitcher in baseball who pitches sidearm, like submarine. You laugh at guys like that. Oh, they don't look good. They're not in the classic style. So Lamar Jackson doesn't look like your classic pocket passer, but he gets the ball there. And by all accounts, he's a really good leader, and he seems to be a good guy. His teammates are going to rally around him. I don't see the negativity surrounding Lamar Jackson outside of the concern, well, he runs so he can get hurt. I mean, guys can get hurt being in the pocket the whole time. So Zach Wilson got hurt just standing around early. What was it, preseason or the first game or whatever? I forgot.
Yeah. He just went down. On the turn.
Yeah.
But last night, I'm on the EC committee as well with the NFLPA, and they just sent out a notification about some fields need to be replaced immediately. So that's another top news that's going on right now, because some of the fields they consider is not safe. The slip field turf instead of the monofilament turf. That's big in the news. You'll hear a lot about that coming up in the next week or two.
Yeah, I mean, that turf I've played on, it is like hitting cement when you get hit. It's very hard when you get hit. So up next we got
all these big time, big paid football players running on these fields. I say fields, and they do need to consider changing out some of the fields. I think it's about 7 fields right now that they're looking at.
Yeah.
Wow, it's interesting.
So Cincinnati at 5-4. Of course, Joe Burrows. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the most hit quarterback in the league right now. And of course, he was injured last year, so they've got to protect him a lot better, guys. The running back there, I'm trying to remember his name right now. Nixon. 5 touchdowns, guys. Holy good God! I mean, that broke some records. Their defense, their defensive line ends, they play very well. Offensive line, I don't know what's going on there with their offensive line, especially the ones they brought in. Burrows is like, it reminds me a little bit when they went to the Super Bowl and he was just throwing the ball up to Lamar Chase and they made that run. But this year, I don't know. Are they a playoff team, Jack? What do you think?
Yeah, 5-4. They could get there. I mean, let's see. They started slowly. I mean, I don't have their schedule in front of me, but they're certainly in the mix. You're right about Joe Burrow. I wonder, is Joe Burrow made to last in this league? Could he strikes me as, when all is said and done, to have the type of career Andrew Luck had, with the Colts. Not quite long enough, to be a Hall of Fame type career. And you kind of wonder, is he built to last? And like you said, Mac, he's hit an awful lot. And, have they really addressed the offensive line? I know they made some moves. They tried in the offseason to a degree. But I think you get that all over the NFL. I think the majority of these teams have problems with the offensive lines. And I don't know, Byron, is it you thought because the defensive lines are so much better? What's the reason why just about every team you could say doesn't have a good offensive line?
Yeah, and I just think too that either the offensive lineman not being able to adjust quicker, the defense is always a little bit one step ahead of the offensive line, and I consider that the blocking scheme that after the center is supposed to be calling these different blocking assignments for the rest of the line, but it seems like the defense is becoming more creative with their linebacker. And if you look at it, they usually have a defensive back end where a linebacker used to be. So now you got 7 defensive back, 2 main linebackers. So their schemes are different. But I'll tell you another thing too: the defensive linemen are getting so much faster, it seems like, and they being able to put a lot of pressure on these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree with that. So after the Bengals, we move on to Cleveland. Brissett is the starting quarterback, good second stringer, but he's definitely not a starter. Chubb is still one of the best running backs in the league. The offensive line is very good. The defense is okay. Myles Garrett doing his thing over there. What do you think, Byron? Cleveland playoffs? Yes or no?
I think Cleveland gonna make the playoffs. I think this is the start of their playoff run. I think that they're gonna go to Miami and they're gonna surprise Miami in Miami. That's what I think.
All right, Byron, have you looked at the standings? Cleveland's 3-5.
I know they're 3-5. I'm telling you,
they have a savior coming.
Cleveland usually make a run they make an adjustment at mid-season. I'm telling you, they are Nick Chubb and those guys. They gonna bring it. You cannot hardly beat Cleveland. So I'm telling you, Cleveland.
Watson, 3 more games to Deshaun Watson.
I ain't thinking about him right now. I'm telling you, Cleveland gonna go and have an upset this week in Miami. That's my upset game.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
You don't think so, Jack?
I don't think so. I mean, listen, I picked Cleveland to go to the Super Bowl last year. Okay.
Well, you won your off. So
yeah, I mean, Cleveland, I kind of wonder how effective will Deshaun Watson be with Cleveland 3 games from now? He comes back.
He gonna be really effective.
As he can't practice with the team till he comes back. Is that correct during the season? So the first week he comes back, I can't see him being a difference maker because they'll give him a package of plays as good as he is, as good as any quarterback is, unless they have familiarity with the team. They've been with the team in the past. He's going to come in and it's going to take him, about 3 weeks or so to really start getting adjusted.
I disagree. Totally disagree. It's just like you driving a Hyundai and then you get in a Corvette and you just say there's no difference in the two. It's gonna be different. Watch what I tell you.
It will, but it's going to take Deshaun Watson a while to get adjusted, I think.
No, he's
right off the bat, he's going to hit the ground running and be the same quarterback he was before. Not practicing with the team.
Absolutely, he's gonna have rested legs. He's gonna have rested. He's not just sitting at home not doing anything. He's working out
with the team though directly. He's not building a rapport with the receivers.
I'm telling you, they will be okay. Watch what I tell you.
Yeah. So Byron is picking the Browns to go on a playoff run and contend for the Super Bowl, I guess.
I'm picking the Browns. The second half of this scheduled season, the Browns you'll see a different team. I'm telling you that.
Okay. All right, guys. So Pittsburgh at 2-6. We mentioned Mike Tomlin probably be his first losing season since he's become the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They do have a quarterback controversy between the 2 quarterbacks.
And Trubisky. I don't know, is that a controversy, Mac? Maybe that's a little bit of a strong word to use because they drafted Pickett at number 1 and they were starting Trubisky, but we knew the answer was cut and dry. If Trubisky was playing well, he would continue. If he didn't, they would transition to Pickett at some point. And that's how it kind of played out. But the big question is this, what you said, Mac, is Pickett really good enough? Being a 4-year start at Pitt, is he truly good enough to take over an NFL team, and be one of the, good quarterbacks in the league? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think he's a starting quarterback. I think he might end up on second string. with some other team. I just don't think he has the tools, the arm. College and the pros are a big difference, right, Byron? I mean, it's a lot faster.
It is.
Defense is a lot more complex. And, when you're going up there to call an audible and the defense is moving around in a lot of different positions, I mean,
it's just like going from 10 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour. It's a whole different game out there.
Yeah.
And you got to think fast. You got to make adjustments. You got to be able to call audibles. It's so much going on. You got to see this and see that. Pocket presence, just the timing of the route, and then you just traded your number one receiver to Chicago. So it's a lot going on over there in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah. Mac, there's no one more knowledgeable about talking about wide receivers than Byron. He's the man. You want to talk about wide receivers? You talk to Byron ahead of anyone else. But when it comes to quarterbacks, leave Byron out of the discussion.
I didn't say nothing
about quarterbacks. He said Kyler Murray last year. He had him going to the Hall of Fame. Byron was like Kyler Murray was the best quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, did he make the Pro Bowl? He just didn't make the playoff. He made it to the Pro Bowl.
Isn't Kyler Murray in the playoff game? He flipped the ball underhand just to get rid of it at the end zone.
Yeah, the Rams, he had a terrible game. So every now and then you're going to have a terrible game. But I'm telling you, Kyler Murray they had some injuries and the running backs and things they have a tight end. So I'm just saying that he typically is a little bit better than what I thought. Last year he just had some hiccup, but he still made it to the Pro Bowl.
Good morning, Keith. How you doing today?
Hey, you talking about me? Is that you were talking about me? I didn't make the Pro Bowl last year. I was just a little bit short.
No, Keith. I mean, of course, Mac. Before you get off, he's going to be bragging about Zappy again. I want to.
Jesus! I almost had to jump out of my chair yesterday. He said it's
No, Keith. We're talking about right now. Kyle Murray, the selfish, look at me quarterback who folds like a cheap suit when he's rushed. And makes great underhanded throws to the sideline when he's under pressure. I know you're a big fan of Kyle Murray, Keith.
Listen, I thought Kyle Murray would mature a little bit this year. I thought there were some veterans that would help him do that. That the Cardinals brought in Ertz, the tight end. I thought would be a good locker room and huddle influence on him. Yeah. And to me, he's gone backwards. He hasn't gone forward. He's gone backwards. And this team, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the next guy out. As far as coaches go, this team's got too much talent to be this bad, and so they need to bring somebody in to turn this kid around before it's too late.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins was out, Keith, a good part of the year, and so he's back, and with Robbie Anderson making a deal for him, maybe it gels.
Maybe, but him and Hopkins don't seem to be on the same page. They had a little issue on a sideline last week, didn't they?
Yeah,
they argued. Yeah, so, and the coach.
Did you ever do that, Byron, in your career, get in a quarterback's face?
No. That's not the. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think you just go back and have a conversation with the quarterback on the private side. You don't do that, and I just think that's immature and that's not team football. Yeah. I think he's being selfish. I just think that's why these guys don't go further down the road with having success, because they do things like that that's boneheaded. That used to call that he's a bonehead player.
I think that's the problem. It's not just Kyler Murray, it's Hopkins, and now they're bringing Robbie Anderson, another selfish guy who have their own agendas and they don't care about the team enough. And I think that it's more than just Murray, but obviously he's a big part of the problem. But it's all the superstars there.
Yeah, I agree with that. We were talking, of course, we're talking a little bit about Jeff Saturday, Keith getting that Colts head coach job, high school, a high school coach.
I want to hear what Keith got to say about this. I want to hear what he got.
I got to say, you know what? Maybe this works out, but I have to. It's a hair-pulling move, obviously, by Irsay. And even if you watch Saturday's press conference, did you watch him? He was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll be good. I don't know if I'll stink. I just know that I know how to win and I know how to lead people. And even he didn't sound terribly confident that he was going to come in here and make a difference. But I liked his approach. At least he was honest about the fact that, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. But the problem is for me is they didn't just fire the head coach. They also fired the offensive coordinator, I believe. So who's calling the plays on Sunday? Matt Ryan? Maybe
Matt
that's
Ryan, I guess.
I mean, Matt Ryan, you might better make the offensive coordinator if you're not going to make him the
quarterback. Is Matt Ryan really calling the plays?
No, I think he probably should be, because who else is going to do it?
So from what I understand, Matt Ryan isn't playing because he'll get X amount of money if he plays X amount of time. Playing Sam Ehlinger is brutal. No one can win with Sam Ehlinger, starting.
No, I also think Matt Ryan, probably for his own well-being, was probably better off not playing, because he was going to get killed back there. He's a sitting duck at this point in his career, but he's still better than Sam Ehlinger at this point. But, I feel bad for Matt Ryan. This is a bad situation for him. And you're right. It's all about Irsay made this call to save dollars. So
yeah, he did.
and they're tanking the season. I think that's all they don't care now. I mean, Taylor's out for the year, I believe. You've bent your quarterback for the year, so it's pretty obvious he's not even trying to hide the fact he doesn't want to win games.
Well, I have Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team. They say he's coming back this week against the Raiders, so we'll see. I don't know if he's healthy enough to come back though.
Who?
Jonathan Taylor. The fantasy people say he's coming back this week, so I don't know. I hadn't checked it.
I may have heard it wrong. During the Patriot game, I thought I'd heard that he was out for the year, and I might have misheard it. So
they got him coming back this week, I think.
So let's talk a little bit about your division, Keith. Buffalo is right now at 6-3. Cincinnati. Buffalo, and then the Miami Dolphins and the Jets, of course, are tied at 6-3. And your Patriots are at 5-4. Josh Allen hurt his elbow. Probably not playing. Casey Kasem, top 40. No, yes. Anyways. Will be playing probably, and I think they should keep him Josh out for a couple games. Let him rest up the elbow. Come back when he's ready to come back. It's really not going to hurt them to lose a few games.
Well, especially non-conference games, it won't hurt them if they lose. They're playing the Vikings.
Home field advantage, guys. It's meaningful at this point. You want to play the AFC Championship game if you're that far. You want it in Buffalo.
But they would still have a chance to get there if he were to sit a game. If they lose some non-conference games, it's not going to hurt them as much as – I mean, if they were playing conference foes, I would say you got to throw Josh Allen out there.
Let me tell you, the Jets are only 1/2 game behind Buffalo. That's hard to believe, right? Only a half game.
So, yeah, and I think it's only one game for the Dolphins, right? So this is tight. They look at – all four teams could make the playoffs. Patriots are only a half game out of that last spot right now. So it's possible everybody from the East goes because everybody else stinks.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the Vikings are a very tough game for the Bills, the way the Vikings have been playing. Very tough game this weekend.
Game's in Buffalo, right?
Yeah. I don't think they can be that tough.
Yeah, I like is it at night? Is it at night? Because we know Kirk Cousins can't play with the lights on. So
It's an afternoon game. It's a 1:00 game.
Kirk Cousins, he got all that jewelry around his neck. He dancing and celebrating and acting up. So he's having fun. He having fun.
That was awesome, man.
Good contracts.
So Keith, your Patriots are 5-4. As you said, hey, there's a good chance that four teams from both the East divisions have a shot at making the playoffs. Listen, I love Zappy, and we go through this all the time.
I don't remember you saying it, but I'll believe it.
But I'll give your quarterback some credit. He has played well because of the Patriots defense, special teams. Stevenson's running like a beast. So there's not a lot of pressure on him to do really well. Just kind of hold the team together. Patriots, what do you think? Do you think they win a playoff game, Keith?
First, they got to get there. And while I think they do have a shot, Mac Jones has got to play better, right? Zappy is what he is. Look, he played really good football against the Lions, who we know are a Super Bowl contender, according to the birthday boy there. But he's, I think Mac Jones is the quarterback. I think Bill Belichick knows that, but they also know he's got to play better. He hasn't taken as good care of the football this year. He's made bad decisions, and I think part of that is still getting used to the new offense. They've gotten better calling plays. The running game's gotten better. Stevenson has really, really turned into quite a weapon, and I like this team's chances, but the schedule gets much tougher here. We got 2 games with Buffalo. They got the Vikings. They've got the Bengals in the second half. They got the Dolphins again. And the Jets again. Yes, they beat them up last 2 weeks ago, but there's certainly any given Sunday the Jets can turn it up a notch as we saw last week. So I like the Patriots' chances getting to the playoffs. Winning a game might be a different situation. I think winning one game would be a step in the right direction this year. The defense is playing great. Matthew Judon is the defensive player of the year in my mind, right? So far, halfway through the season. Now, last year he tailed off, so they've already started managing his snaps a little bit so he doesn't fade like he did last year in the second half. But they're going to go probably as far as that defense and the running game takes them.
I just want to remind you one thing about Zappe. The Green Bay Packers have lost their last 5 games in a row. The last game they won was against New England when Zappe was quarterback. And just a little reminder, that's the last time the Packers won.
And he did play well in that game, to give him credit. So it was against the 2 worst teams in the NFC he played well against, I guess.
Hey, listen, how about Zappe for Jordan Love? What do you think, Keith?
I don't want Jordan Love either. I want Zappe as my backup quarterback. I don't want to just get rid of him. He's not Brian Hoyer.
I'm living a potential nightmare right now. Before the season, I got tickets for myself and my son-in-law, paid good money to see the Packers play the Dolphins. I'm going to be seeing them on Christmas Day. I thought that could be 2 teams contending for the Super Bowl. My biggest fear is I paid all that money to see Jordan Love quarterback. Even if a Packers out of it, at least let me see Aaron Rodgers play. If I have to see Jordan Love play and pay the type of money I did, oh, man.
You could be watching a future Hall of Famer. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I do have one question when it comes to the Patriots, though. So the story this week in Boston is about, and maybe I think it's been in the national news. I'm not sure. But the Patriots have been tipping their plays, and teams know what's coming. And Belichick talked about it in his press conference this week, and they said they had to fix it. But if this were happening the other way around, we'd have all kinds of league investigations against my team. But here we say, we got to,
stop. Stop. Oh, stop already. Wow.
It's just been predictable, Keith. Ain't nobody stealing their plays.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
predictable. And Belichick did say that. I just had to throw that in there because I haven't had a chance to say it all week. So
okay, all right. Let's skip over to NFC East. Of course, Eagles still undefeated. You've got Dallas and the Giants right behind them at 6-2, and the Washington Redskins at 4-4 or 4-5, I should say now. Byron. We've talked about the NFC East a lot, especially with, Jim Jeffcoat being a Dallas Cowboy. If you look at the Eagles, are they going to remain undefeated? I don't think it's happening. What do you think?
I just think they could easily be done lost a game or 2, but they just been playing good ball. I've been shocked. They have made history. They've never been 8-0 before. So, and they schedule is pretty a little weak. They got a week. They barely had a weak schedule, I think. But I'm just shocked to see that the Eagles are still ranked number 1 now since they had the power ranking come out. They got the Eagles number 1, the Bills number 2, and the Chiefs number 3, and the Cowboys number 4. So that's interesting to see. But they're still a team to beat. They playing good team football. They don't make bonehead mistakes. So it's good for the Eagles. But I think the Cowboys and the Giants gonna give them. They still got some good games to play, and we'll see what happens over there.
They got 2 against the Giants yet, right?
Yeah, they still got 2 against the Giants. Yeah, exactly.
And talking about the Giants, of course, Dallas and them are tied. I give the Cowboys credit, even though I don't want to. They're playing really good ball now. Of course, Micah Parsons might be a defensive player of the year. They got a good safety back there. Dak is doing it, or as Jack says, Zach Prescott is doing really good as quarterback. I think he's still got he did sign a contract earlier, saving Jones a lot of money. From signing him now. Dallas Cowboys, Jack. Do they have a shot at the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, unless you're a big believer in the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe in the Eagles, but I don't think that they're a powerhouse. They could be had in the playoffs. And how many teams in the NFC do we really think are going to peak, who have a lot of upside? And the two teams that could seriously challenge the Eagles, who I feel have a lot of upside, are the Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Those are the two teams.
You meant the New York Giants.
No, not at all. The Giants aren't a Super Bowl threat to me. Not at all.
I think as weak as the NFC is, I think the Giants could get on a run and go. The big holdup for the Giants is the lack of weapons for Daniel Jones. He's played very, very well, especially given the fact that other than Saquon Barkley, there's nowhere to go with the ball on this offense. So that might catch up with them. I'm not a big fan of the Niners only because Jimmy G I think you've seen all he's got.
Yeah.
And I don't, as good as McCaffrey is, I just don't know that he can stay healthy. So, but nobody in that West, the Rams are done. Nobody in the South is going to compete. So it's probably the Cowboys, the Eagles, and maybe the Giants if they can. That defense and Daniel Jones and Barkley can carry them.
Any Tom Brady magic or what?
Well, you saw 44 seconds of it last week. Whether it's going to spark anything, I don't know. I think that somebody's going to win that division with 8 wins. I think
this was interesting. This was interesting with the power ranking. They got the Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and then they have the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers, number 6, the Vikings, number 7, Tennessee Titans, number 8, and the Jets, number 9, and the Seahawks are number 10. That's the top 10 in the power ranking. So that's interesting that they got the 49ers up there,
Well, I going back to the Giants real quick. I mean, McKinney got hurt. He's out for the season. They did pick up a veteran I think he was an ex-Super Bowl player. I'm not sure, Byron. Safety that I think he played for Carolina. I'm not sure about that either, but I know they did pick up some defensive backfield help with McKinney being out. And it seems like, the Giants, every team has their injuries, but the Giants have some injuries to some really key players. And, I don't know how they're doing it. I just hope they keep doing it. Without the weapons, as Keith said, there's hardly any room for error. And if, I just love what Daniel Jones has been doing this year. A lot of people say he's not a quarterback that can carry the team, but I think he makes big throws at important times. And of course, Saquon Barkley, everything's run through him. Basically, he throws, he catches, he plays in the Wildcat, he runs with the ball. I mean, he's amazing this year. So Byron, what do you think? I mean, is Daniel Jones the quarterback of the Giants' future?
I think so. I think he deserves it. I think, the way he came back and played and his leadership and the position that him and Saquon is doing, they got, they carrying the team on his back. So he deserves a new contract. I mean, he's been there with a lot of different coaches. So why not give him the chance that he deserves? He's doing excellent. I mean, great leader. He was offensive player of the week before last. And so he's doing some tremendous things. So I just think they should give him that honor.
Yeah.
Well, give him the honor. You're talking about a multi-year contract and make him one of the highest paid QBs in the league. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that, but he can make that in the 30s and $40 million like some of these other quarterbacks.
Come on. I mean, Daniel Jones.
He's a first-round draft choice.
I'll
You know
offer
what?
maybe a 1-year extension, depending on how the year goes, or maybe 2 years, but not amongst the highest quarterbacks, not even close. Let me put it another way. If Daniel Jones became a free agent, do you think there's one team out there that would offer him a mega deal?
Yeah,
like
the
in
Panthers.
Not even one team.
The Panthers would. The Falcons would. I can think of probably a
And the
couple.
Saints,
They would look at him as being another Sam Darnold, the Panthers. Are you
He's
kidding
better
me?
than Sam Darnold. Listen, this goes back to exactly what I was saying. I'd love to get Byron's take on what I've been saying. I've been saying this for like 3 years now about Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones had been drafted in the second round, the middle of the second round, Giants fans and fans like Jack would think totally different of Daniel Jones and his progression to where he is today. It's not his fault. He was. It's not his fault. Hold on. It's not his fault. He was the 6th pick in the draft. The Giants did that, not Daniel Jones. And if he was drafted as a project, you would be very happy as a Giant fan of where he is today. You think that's accurate?
I think that's accurate. That's perfectly said. I think that's accurate right there. You know, Daniel Jones, look at his stats. He can run the ball. The only thing that he didn't have protection, and they lost game. They've been losing games not because of Daniel Jones. That's what he don't have no top receiver, no wide out receiver. Just think about that.
And he's gotten better every year under different systems almost
Maybe
every year.
if he got the ball better to the receivers he had, they would be top receivers. You can't.
Jack, let me tell you something.
The
worst thing for a quarterback.
Adams wasn't much this year because he does. He has catches a lot, but
let me say this, Jack. Let me say this. The worst thing for a quarterback to have all these different coaches to come in and try to learn all these different concepts. Just think last year he didn't. He was sacked a whole lot of time. It's not his fault. I'm just saying when he was able to run and take control of that team, you can see what he's doing this year. Now he's done matured. He has been through a lot with all these different coaches and philosophies and things like that. Last year, Jason Garrett in the middle of the season, they got rid of him. Just think of you in the quarterback room and you have all these new concepts coming at you, and he don't deserve that.
They got rid of Jason Garrett in part because he had a quarterback that wasn't getting it done for him. Okay? It's his 4th year, guys. Let me tell you something. See me next week on this topic because they're at home coming off a bye against the lowly Houston Texans. If they struggle in that game, that ought to put it in perspective.
They're not going to struggle. So I'm glad they got the Houston Texans because they need to come back and send them back down south. So I just think
the fans will get
this is what they need coming out of the bye. They got a team that don't have anything going for them, and the coach they need to be retired. So I'm just telling you that they're gonna have a good warm-up session on them dang Texas.
Well, you want to fire Lovie Smith as the Texan coach?
I just think I just hate them recycling all these coaches, and I'm nothing against Levy. I'm just saying the game is passing him by. So get you a coach that's gonna build some youth and build some excitement. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. He never should have got the job in the first place.
Exactly.
There you go. So guys, in the West, we have Seattle at 6-3, the 49ers at 4-4, who Keith isn't really high on. You got the Rams at 3-5, and Arizona at 3-6. Seattle, another surprising team. Who'd have thunk they'd be 6-3 this year? I know I didn't. I picked them to finish last with about 2 wins. Geno Smith, reborn with Seattle. I think Pete Carroll's doing a tremendous job keeping that team going. Maybe a coach of the year. What do you think, Keith? Seattle, how surprised are you?
I'm shocked. I thought they were going to win 3 games this year. I would not have think they would win 6 at all. And Geno Smith, I thought his time had passed. But it just goes to show you if you give guys enough time to develop and they get in the right system, they can play.
But he had 11 years to develop us, so or what?
Well, look at he's got a team that fits.
A decade,
He's got a team that's fit. Well, regardless, it was a decade. Is he playing good football? He's playing playoff caliber football right now. They got weapons in Kenneth Walker III, who stepped up very well for Penny since he got hurt. You got Metcalf and Lockett at the wideouts. He's got better weapons than Daniel Jones has got to work with as far as
one thing too. The whole draft class has been the rookies. They got some of the most outstanding rookies that you ever want to see that come into the NFL as a group. So that's been a big change as well.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll was getting blasted the last couple of years as the game having passed him by as well. He's the oldest coach in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. But he is a candidate for Coach of the Year with turning his team around. He had some vision, and they're better off without Russell Wilson. Who would have thought that?
Exactly. Yeah.
And maybe they can continue this. I mean, they beat some good football teams. They're not doing it with smoke and mirrors either. So
that's the truth.
And Geno Smith right now, he got the highest pass rating for quarterbacks right now.
Geno's about to cash in big time after this year because he will cash in.
You pay him like a franchise quarterback. This is a journeyman.
I'm not saying he should.
Who's played really well this year. I give Geno his due. He's played really, really well. But I attribute it in large part to the great coaching job of Pete Carroll. That Geno Smith has done whatever Pete Carroll has asked. He's went along. Pete Carroll, kudos to him. Yeah,
I'm not saying he should get a big contract, but he will. Just look up Ryan Fitzpatrick and look at the contracts he signed over his career.
Well, he never signed mega contracts, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Never?
Great. No,
Go look some of them up.
He basically
compared to what those contracts were worth at the time. Look at what he signed when he started off 4-1 one year with Buffalo, and they didn't win another game. Ryan Fitzpatrick has made a lot of money in the NFL over just a couple of really good spurts in his career. So Geno Smith's going to cash in somewhere this year just because somebody's going to pay him. I'm not saying he should. I'm just saying he will.
So we got the Rams sitting back there, very disappointing this year. They went all in last year. Maybe that has affected them this year. I think maybe the salary cap issues have finally caught up with them. Matt Stafford was always a good stats guy, right? Even with Detroit. I mean, they didn't win a lot, but he looked really good. With the Rams, they only got really one weapon in Cooper Kupp. Really disappointing this year for the Rams. They kind of joined Tampa and Green Bay with the same amount of disappointment. Byron, I mean, when you played wide receiver with the Giants, it wasn't just you. It was a core of wide receivers, not the best in the league, but really all had different things they did well. You blocked well, and some of the other ones caught well and ran really well after the catch. So you did it by a committee. Right. And right now, the Rams ain't got no committee, Byron.
They don't have a committee. Injuries have they've been experiencing injury this year. So, Matthew Stafford been inconsistent. He looked like a totally different quarterback than he did last year. So they offense hadn't been productive. Of course, the injuries have hurt them too, but, it just seemed like a whole different team. I mean, it's week to week, you don't know what you're going to get with the Rams, but winning 3 games and being in the Super Bowl is unheard of, so. But they might have that Super Bowl jinx too, though. A lot of teams don't do well after they win the Super Bowl because they lose so many players in the free agent market.
Very true. Keith, you agree with that?
I do. Their defense, I think, is still elite, but the offense, as you guys have said, you got to have more than one place to go with the football, and Kupp's not even healthy now. I think last week's game, that last drive they had, where all they needed was a first down to put the game out to bed. Was kind of the their whole season rolled up into just a couple of minutes. That game was won. They had that game in the bag. All they had to do was get 10 yards. Game's over. They kick it back to Brady, and he scores a touchdown with 44 seconds left. So
yeah,
that's been the Rams season, and I think it's a hangover part of it, as you talked about. But there's a lot of other factors I think there too.
Jack, the Rams have had a history of great running backs. Going back to the 70s, and I mean, you can go back to Crazy Leg Hurst for God's sake. I don't know if he's one of your
Even
relatives.
before my time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I don't know if you're related to Crazy
When I
Legs
was
or
a
not.
kid, they used to call me Crazy Legs Hurt.
I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, did you
And,
play running back in the Pee Wee League, Jack? Did you play
Oh,
running
man,
back?
that was way back when I used to play two-hand touch.
yeah.
I thought that was for the dance contest that you won,
and
Jack.
Byron was an
Yeah,
organized.
I mean, you think about it. You think
I was
about
a
it, Jack.
receiver, too.
You think about it, Eric Dickerson. I mean, they've had some great
Yeah.
running backs over the years. What happened to the Rams running game?
What happened to this Cam Akers, the situation there? No one's saying anything. He had it
Healthy.
with the coaching staff. I mean, but what's going on? They tried to trade Cam Akers, but they couldn't deal him. So
Yeah.
now they're going to live with him after having a discussion. What's going on? I mean, Cam Akers is the type of running back who you think would be able to help someone. And once again, stuff goes on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. But
Right.
Cam Akers is too good a player, not to, be playing and not to be a fact. I know he's gotten injured before, but he's healthy right now. So it's a mystery to me.
Yeah, their whole offense is a mystery, and for McVay to come out and say, "Well, we're gonna make changes. Changes are coming." Well, the guy's limited in what he can do. What's he gonna do? Bench Stafford? No, right? He doesn't have anybody else to play at those skill positions, or they'd be playing.
Yeah.
Early in the year, Matt would be saying all year long, and maybe rightly so. He keeps saying it's early, that's early. But I think the midway point, teams are running out of time now. It's desperation time for certain teams like the Rams, who very soon are going to be basically mathematically out of it or close to it. They've got to go on a run, certain teams. They've dug themselves such a hole. There's very little margin for error, for certain teams. I mean, the Rams in the division, if you look at their record as bad as it is, they're 2 games. They're 2 games out of first place. But if the Niners take off, maybe Seattle's going to come back to the pack, even though they're only 1 game ahead of the Niners. But, it's not over for the Rams if they could go on a bit of a run. But last week, like Keith said, when you have a game won and you let it get away, it really comes back to haunt you.
I think their season ended with that lack of a first down. That's what I think. I mean, they got to go 6-3 just to get the 9-8. Does this team look like they can go 6-3? They don't look, or 6-2. Sorry, no, 6-3.
That's the way they've been playing. No,
I don't see that.
And, we do our picks every Sunday on the big football show, but Byron doesn't get to pick, and Keith, he's got his own show. So I want to go through some of the games with Byron and Keith here and see who they think might win these games. And we're going to start off with Minnesota and Buffalo, guys. Again, Josh Allen may not play. Minnesota's 7-1, having a good year. Who do you expect to win that, guys?
I'm going with Buffalo.
Just a winner?
Yes.
Buffalo.
Okay. And of course, the Houston, the Texans in New York, Giants 6-2. Houston, I think, is 1-6. I think it'll be a tough game. The Giants should win. What do you guys think about that game?
I'm going with the Giants. I don't see a 1-6-1 team coming in and doing nothing.
Matt feels it'll be a tough game, Byron, but
I don't care. I'm going with the Giants.
Daniel Jones, it's a tough game.
Giants by 2 touchdowns.
I'm gonna send you a Giant hat.
Okay. The Jags at Denver. Denver having an awful year. The Jags, not much better. Who do you guys like there?
The Jags have played just well enough to lose. They're playing good football. They haven't learned how to win yet. And
the Jags are playing at Kansas City. They just played Denver in England, and Denver defeated the Jags.
That's right.
Yeah, the Jags at Kansas City. And if you tell me, I'm holding my pick off till Sunday. But you guys are a big explanation right now. If you say the Jags are going to beat the Chiefs, I'm not going to say that.
I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win. I'm saying the Jags are playing good football. They've got actually a plus point differential with 6 losses. They haven't learned how to win yet. That's their problem.
That's it. That's their problem, right? But
right.
Of course, the Chiefs gonna take them out, though.
I agree. Jaguars are going to be a team to watch out for next year. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, as you see, folks.
Yeah, we heard that last year. They were going to be a team.
Never said that. You didn't hear that from me.
Yeah. As you see, folks, Byron has changed to his lucky giant hat for picks. That's something he uses every week.
Byron, he went from honoring the military to honoring the Giants. Right? I thought it should have been the opposite way, but
Yeah. There's got to be some bets on the Giants. So, I mean,
Oh, speaking of that, I think we should have a little shout out, guys. Blake Martinez, former Giant, lead on the team, who retired from the Las Vegas Raiders. After playing a good game last week, he just decided he wanted to retire. I think he's only like 28.
Yeah.
But, good career when he played, and he was a real leader, in that Giant defense. But when he suffered the injury, under Joe Judge's regime last year, that really, I thought, set the Giant defense back a bit. But we all wish Blake Martinez, well in his retirement. He was a good player.
Sure thing.
Definitely. New Orleans at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, as we say, has had a lot of problems this year with their quarterback situation. New Orleans, a little long in the tooth. Maybe the window's closing for them. But hey, they're playing really good ball now. Who do you guys like?
I think there's enough left in those talent, those skill positions with Kamara and Thomas to get by this Steeler team. The Steeler team is really not very good, so I think they'll be able to win this game on the road.
I'm going with the Saints as well. Like I said earlier, Mike Thompson never beat the Saints, so there you go. I'm going with the Saints.
There you go.
What do you guys think of the quarterback situation at New Orleans? Jameis Winston, healthy, ready to go, but they're sticking with Andy Dalton.
There's no big upside, so that's why they doing what they're doing.
Yeah, they need a quarterback.
Jameis Winston, playing at his best, does have more upside than Andy Dalton, but Andy Dalton's obviously more steady, doesn't throw the interceptions Jameis Winston does. Yeah. So it's kind of intriguing who you stick with. Me personally, I would like Jameis Winston. I'd rather take a chance on the guy's upside.
I think you're going to see a new quarterback there is what you're going to see. I don't think Jameis Winston's the answer there long term, and certainly Andy Dalton isn't. He's a little long in the tooth himself, so I think they're going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah,
I agree. Maybe Zappy goes to New Orleans. Who knows?
Staying on the bench in New England.
They don't need Zappy. They got Brian Hoyer in there.
Yes, that's true. All right, so the Colts are at the Raiders. In Las Vegas. Byron says that their star running back will be playing. Keith heard something different, but we'll find out. Listen,
I know more than me, though. I can tell you that.
Yes. So listen, I think even with the problems they have in Indianapolis, what do you think? Do you think the Colts beat the Raiders, guys?
No.
I don't think so. I think the Raiders are one. They could have. They've been the number one team who put up 17 points and lost some key games, and I think they're gonna get together this week at home.
4 times I think they've done that this year. That's like unheard of, and there's a sense of desperation there. I think, and they should win this game.
Guys, let me ask you this question. Obviously, the Raiders badly need a win under any circumstance. 2-6. Is there even more pressure on Josh McDaniel going against Jeff Saturday? Because to lose to a guy Byron more or less described, not in so many words, as a high school coach having his first game, he better get it done against Jeff Saturday. I mean, it's normally maybe not so personal, coach against coach, but you somehow don't want to lose to Jeff Saturday in a game you badly have to win.
But Jeff Saturday played in the NFL 13 years as the top, one of the top centers too. But Yeah, but yeah, Josh McDaniel, he got to turn the team around. They need some good news in Vegas.
Yeah, there's the pressure on him, I think, is more from the fan base and the fact that they let Rich Bisaccia run after he let him go after he had a good run with that team, getting them to the playoffs. And I think there was a lot of dismay in Raiderland over just that. And now McDaniel's come in here and fallen flat on his face. He's not going to get a long leash, I don't think.
The players love Bisaccia on the Raiders. They went to the playoffs, like you said. They were happy with him. They were raring to go next year with them, and then they just let him go. I guess Mark Davis had his own idea. He was intrigued by Josh McDaniels, and
yeah, Raider Nation is not happy.
Live with them, yeah.
Don't forget, there's another storyline in this game too. Josh McDaniel left the Colts at the altar here just 4 years ago too. There's another angle there with this game.
Yeah.
So we have Arizona at the Rams. We talked about, the problems Arizona's having with the arguments on the sideline and with the receivers and how, Murray needs to grow up. I don't think that will ever happen. And the Rams right now, they just aren't clicking. Guys, what do you think? Do you think Arizona has a chance at winning this game?
I don't. Matthew Stafford is 3-1 against the Cardinals since he's been playing over there. So I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, this is a hard game to pick. I mean, both these teams are trending in the wrong direction. This game is the game in Arizona.
It's in LA.
It's in LA. I'm going to go take the Rams, and they need a win so bad, and things are so bad with the Cardinals. I think I would take the Cardinals if they were home, but I'll take the Rams.
But the Rams don't have an advantage playing at home.
No, maybe not crowd-wise, but you get to stay in your own bed at night and whatnot. There's still some advantage to being home.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dallas at Green Bay. It looks like Dallas should be able to kill Green Bay. They just got a more talented team. They're playing together. Aaron Rodgers is throwing fits over in Green Bay, and I think he should be looking in the mirror when he does that. What do you guys think? Do you think Green Bay has a chance, Byron?
I don't. I just think Green Bay just they don't have nothing going for them right now. There's no camaraderie. I mean, the team is not. No, they're not. Seem like they lost ever since they played the Giants over in London. They hadn't done nothing since that game. So I'm thinking the Cowboys, their defense is just outstanding right now.
They look like a team that's looking forward to playing golf in a couple of months, and they've kind of quit on this season. I don't think they have any chance this weekend either.
I want to remind you guys, I picked Buffalo over Green Bay in the Super Bowl. That was my preseason pick, and I said before the Lion game last week, Green Bay loses to the Lions. Forget, they are finished. They're done. But even with that talk, I'm looking at the standings. There are 3 wild card teams that could get in. Obviously, the Packers can't win their division anymore. They're cooked. But Cowboys and Giants at 6-2 seem to be out of range for Green Bay, even though you never know what could happen. But the next team ahead of them is 4-4. And there are a bunch of teams in that area. So anyone can get the 3rd wild card position, maybe even the 2nd one if the Giants slip, because I don't look for the Cowboys to slip, that badly. So even though I said the season's over, technically it isn't. But with that said, Green Bay, I mean, what's happened to them? I mean, they look like a shot team that's finished. They can't even move the ball against the Lions. 5th loss in a row. If there was an urgency in that game, if they couldn't get it done, I mean, it's bad. And for them to win, where they're playing at Dallas this week, or what?
They're playing in Green Bay.
In Green Bay, wow. I mean, but the Cowboys are a good team. They were a good team. I mean, is Green Bay really finished the way I said they are?
Yes.
Or could they actually get back in contention? Would a win over the Cowboys turn things around? Let me ask you that. Would it jumpstart them?
I think it's a jumpstarter for sure.
Yeah. Again, they need that type of jolt. They need something, and I don't see it though, because it just looks like a team that just quit in my mind. I mean, the game against Buffalo, that could have been worse, but they just looked like they were going through the motions against the Bills. And look at why they're there. Look at Aaron Rodgers. They paid him $50 million, and they had to let Devontae Adams walk away, and they couldn't replace him effectively. That's a big part of it. And you can't pay. This is Aaron Rodgers' MO. He's wanted his money, and he wants weapons around him, but you can't have it both ways.
Can't have it both ways, exactly.
So he's not willing. He's got his money, and now he seems happy to have it, and he'll retire and enjoy his rest of his.
The Cowboys only favored by 4.5 points, and considering how bad Green Bay's been and how well the Cowboys have played, it's only 4.5 points. So I think there's that thought the Packers at some point might put it together again.
Yeah, well, again, the line doesn't necessarily mean that they think the Cowboys are only 4.5 points better. They're looking to get money bet on both sides of the game, right? The games, and there are people out there who still will support Green Bay, especially at home.
Yeah.
So, I don't put a lot of stock in that. They think they're only 4 points better.
Is this just an off year for Green Bay, fellas? Or do you think they can rebound by next season? Is this just one of those things where it's an off year and Aaron Rodgers could be the Aaron Rodgers of old next year?
I think Aaron Rodgers is leaving after this year. I think so. You tell me how Jordan Love looks when you go to that game, and I'll tell you how the Green Bay's going to bounce back. They're not there. I think this team could be in for a few years down.
Yeah, I think they got to rebuild.
Even if Rodgers comes back, and which I think he may walk away. I think you might see Brady and Rodgers both walk away this year.
Well, there you go, Byron. You'll have new golfing partners next year.
There you go.
Not Brady. No ways. Brady
I need some new golfing partners.
Yes, sir. So San Diego and San Francisco, guys. Keith doesn't think San Francisco is good as people say. San Diego has the young gunslinger. Garoppolo is basically a field manager. But San Francisco's defense, I think, is better than San Diego's, especially that front four. What do you guys think? Do you think San Diego really can beat San Francisco in San Francisco, Byron?
I just think Justin Herbert gonna pull it out like he did last week. But I'm thinking that I just been a Chargers guy all year. I just think it's something about them. I just think that they can. It can be hard to beat the 49ers, but I think they're capable of beating them. So I'm taking the Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers as well, because what Herbert's been able to do, this team being 5-3, to me is remarkable. He hasn't had Keenan Allen for the entire season, basically. He hasn't had Mike Williams the last couple of games, two of the best wide receivers in the league. And they've still managed to stay afloat. So when they get healthy, I think this team could take off. And I think they can win this game. I think it'll be a hard-fought game, and I think the Chargers will find a way to win at the end, assuming their coach doesn't have some kind of brain cramp at the end of the game with the clock and going for it on fourth down from the goal.
Yeah, he'll go for it on fourth down if they still need 10 yards.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a trick play, guys. It really is. Everybody in the stadium. Washington and Philly Monday night, NFC East game, which means, of course, it's going to be a tough game. Even the producer of the show says there's no way that Washington beats Philadelphia. I think they have a chance, guys. Their defensive line is like San Francisco's. Heineke is a decent quarterback. Hurts to me. He's still developing. Good running game in Philly. Unbelievable weapons. What do you guys think? Do you think, Byron, do you think Washington has a chance to beat Philly?
I picked Washington last week against the Vikings. They let me down. They should have won that game. I'm sorry. And that would have been good. That would have been a good momentum game going into play the Eagles this Monday night. But, I'm going to go ahead and say that they got a chance of winning the game. They just got to play just a little bit better, get a better start, get some momentum going. So I'm going to take them. I'm going to say they can upset the Eagles. This could be their first loss.
I'm going to go with Byron. I like the team formerly known as the Redskins a lot. I picked them to win this division, which they won't do now. But I do think Philadelphia is due to have a little down game somewhere, and this is as good a spot as any. And Ron Rivera is a good coach. Look at the Redskins, the team formerly known as the Redskins. Sorry. they haven't been world beaters these last 3-4 years, but the job Ron Rivera's done with all the drama surrounding that team and the ownership and whatnot, I think he's done a really great job there.
Oh, give me a break, Keith. Great job. Are you kidding? Look at his.
He have done a great job.
He's done a tremendous job with no quarterback.
They're in last place right now. They got their quarterback, Carson Wentz, who he didn't develop at all.
I will repeat my statement without a quarterback.
The year before last, when they won their division, they won it with a 7-9 record. Okay,
Man.
good. Kudos to him. They backdoored it when the Eagles dogged it in that night game, So the Giants couldn't win the division.
You remember this team taking it?
He's lucky he's there.
You know
he's not on the hot seat.
Who gave the Buccaneers the toughest game they played in their entire playoff run 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl? The Redskins and Ron Rivera and Taylor Hennig.
They were competitive. They didn't come close to winning the game. They were competitive with the Buccaneers. They extended the Buccaneers. How about that?
He's a very good coach. He's a very good coach, and he's coached very well under very difficult circumstances. And Mac, no more days off for Jack. Look how he comes back.
Yeah, Jack.
You said he did a great job. You got to get called great job. If you said he did a decent job, I disagree, but I wouldn't get a strike. But you're endorsing that as a great job?
Yeah.
Yes, he did a great job. He's a great coach.
Thank you, Byron.
You're last place here.
I got to go. But
All right, Byron.
Jack, you got to listen to us a little bit more. What's wrong with you?
I heard the word great next to Ron.
And he stopped listening. As soon as he heard great, he stopped listening.
Yes. Great.
You made me want to box. You made me want to box.
This is like the debate show. I mean, every show with Jack is a debate show.
I'm just trying to figure out how he can get in this foursome with Rodgers and Brady and Byron.
So Keith, next week he's gonna come back and say, "Well, I want to apologize to Keith and Byron because the Washington Redskins. The Washington Commandos. They did beat the Eagles.
They go into Philadelphia and they'll win. I'm going to say, he's done a decent job this year so far. They're 5-5 under all this turmoil. Let's say they get a big upset over the Eagles in Philadelphia. The way they kept it together, losing Carson Wentz, the guy that started with Heineke. Yeah, I'm going to say there's something there. But, that didn't – well, let them beat Philadelphia first. That's going to be a big chore.
All right.
Hey, happy Veteran Day, guys. I got to go. Great talking. Enjoyed the show.
Thanks,
all right, Byron. We'll see you next week, buddy.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Grab my back.
So Byron leaves with 10 minutes left. Maybe you didn't know. Anyway, Keith, we look to you for the college football. You don't consider yourself an expert, but we do. We think that, there's nobody else on this network that knows as much about college football, college sports in general than you. So,
well, thank you. I'm very opinionated. How smart it is a different.
Right. Okay.
It's like according to Jack. So
first of all,
a lot more than me in college football, Keith. I to you.
We ain't got a lot of time, so I just want to kind of go over certain things in general, if that makes any sense. It does.
Sure.
In the college football rankings, are you surprised at the top 10? Is there any surprise teams in the top 10 that are there right now?
I think they've got it pretty much right. Clemson fell a little further than I thought they might, but it was a bad loss to Notre Dame. But, falling from 4 to 10 is not what the committee normally does with a one-loss team. But I think they've got it right. Tennessee, I thought might be 4, but I certainly can't argue with, the undefeated TCU team getting that 4 spot. I will tell you when it comes to this, I think there's going to be enough chaos these next 4 weeks. This committee is going to have some tough decisions to make with some of these one-loss teams that don't even make their conference championships. I think there'll be enough chaos that you're going to see the 12-team playoff. It may be in play as soon as next year.
Wow.
That's what I think.
Are you surprised at TCU? We talked about TCU has got a great offense, but not really a great defense. They have come from behind to win some of the games. But number 4, Keith, good spot.
9-0 in a Power 5 conference. I mean, the record is what it says it is, and I can't disagree with it. Again, I wouldn't argue if Tennessee was there. Right. They could have fallen from 1-4, and if they played a little better against Georgia last week, I think they would have been 4. But I'm not going to, and that's going to play itself out. If Tennessee wins out, they got to be in anyway. I'm sorry, if TCU wins out, they got to be in anyway. So I don't. It doesn't matter this week who's in that 4 spot. It's going to matter in 4 more weeks.
The upcoming games, some interesting ones. Alabama at Miss. You've got LSU at Arkansas, and of course Michigan. I think they're number 3 or number 4 this year. Right now. That's the old style NFL football. They run the ball, they pound the ball. Something that doesn't happen in college. It's all passing now. Does Michigan have a shot, Keith, at winning the national championship?
They do. To get in the playoff, they cannot lose. They can't lose to Ohio State in a couple of weeks because one loss is going to really hurt this Michigan team because that would mean they wouldn't get in the Big Ten championship game. And their out-of-conference schedule is just atrocious. We talked about it, I think, a little yesterday. They played Colorado State, Hawaii, and Connecticut. I mean, that's probably the worst. Well, I mean, Connecticut's on the upswing, we know, with Jim Mora, but
I mean, that might be a tougher game. Yeah.
But that's the worst non-conference schedule of all these teams that have got a chance to make the Final Four, for sure. I mean, even Ohio State, they haven't really set the world on fire either, but they did play Notre Dame, who just beat Clemson by 35-14, right? So,
So
that's going to hurt if it comes down to it.
Jack looks a little bored over there, so let me ask you.
No. I'm checking something out because I don't have the vast knowledge Keith has.
That's okay.
There's one thing I was wondering about. Okay, looking things up. Let's say there was no national playoff in college, and it came down to a coaches poll, Associated Press, the way it used to. Which team do you think is trending at number 1? Now, let's say the season ended today. No playoff, no definite way to decide it. Who would be number 1? Would TCU be given respect? But because they don't have that traditional powerhouse program, I mean, would it be Ohio State that would actually get the nod?
Yeah, so if you're talking to going back to the old BCS
way,
it definitely would probably be Georgia and Ohio State probably would play in the national.
Which one, Georgia or Ohio State? What would be your guess?
Georgia would be number 1.
You think of Ohio State?
Oh, yeah. Right now, they'd be number 1.
Is it because Georgia won the national championship last year? Let's say they didn't. Would they be number 1 in that case?
Yeah, they're 9-0 in the best conference in the country. They've got the best non-conference win of any team in this top rankings. They beat the number 6 team in the rankings 49-3 at home in the first week of the season. So that's the best win of any of these teams.
Hasn't Ohio State been just as dominant?
In a worse league, yes. So their strength of schedule, the SEC is so deep, and so they got great wins over Oregon, who's number 6.
Let me ask you two both.
And Tennessee, they just beat the number 1 team in the country. Don't forget last week, so they beat Tennessee. Go ahead, Mac. Sorry, did we lose Mac?
Well, Mac's deep in thought.
He had a question there.
I don't know that we lose him.
Yeah, let me ask you this, guys.
Yeah.
Is it bad or not as good for the NCAA not to have Notre Dame in there battling for the national championship? I mean, you got to admit their history, is something that people still, I'm the Notre Dame fan. There's Notre Dame fans all across the country. Does it really hurt college football that they're not in the championship chase this year?
It doesn't hurt them as much as it would have a few years back, right? Because college football is so big right now that I don't think it hurts them. Would it be better? Yes, college football. You and I talked about this the other day, Mac, that there's some sports are always better when certain teams are good. College football is just better when Notre Dame's good. They just are. But it doesn't rely on them being good as much as they may have in the past because the SEC's gotten so good, because Georgia's moved up to Alabama's level as far as, year in and year out contender. And there's just more better teams. The West Coast teams are better than they've been in a while, in USC and UCLA and Oregon. So that all helps. With that said, I mean, while they don't need Notre Dame as much as they used to, they're still better when they're a viable contender.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, guys, folks, thanks for joining us here on the Mac and Jack Sports Show. Again, thanks to the veterans. Thanks to Byron, Keith. Pags didn't make it today, but he's a busy guy, and thanks for joining me and Jack as we'll be on tomorrow with the Sports Debate Show and the big football show where Keith will be in again. Again, he's almost taken over my program, which is fine. I mean, you can have it, But anyway,
Jack moved his chair up so he's looking down at us now.
I think Jack plays around, does more than we know.
Oh, I gotta comment. Call you guys out on certain comments. What's
Right.
great? This, what's that?
That's why we're here, Jack. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and Jack should be back with his teddy bear on Sunday. The Jets teddy bear.
And I wish I'd picked them Jets to beat the Bills. I didn't. So
Yeah.
what could I tell you? Shock even to me.
All right. So, folks, again, thank you for the views and the likes, and we'll be back tomorrow on the Mac and Jack and Doc Debate Show. Have a great one, folks.